The morning smelled of cold steam and damp iron. Amelia stood between the swirling wisps of fog on the platform, a delicate woman with tired eyes, her hand protectively resting on her slightly rounded belly. The train before her wheezed and puffed, as if it too wanted to breathe in the pain of this hour. Johann, in his freshly ironed uniform, looked brave, but his hands trembled slightly as he tried to fasten the strap of his backpack. He smiled, a smile meant to feign courage, while his eyes had long since said what words could not. "I'll come back," he whispered, leaning forward and gently kissing her forehead. "I promise you, Amelia." She nodded, unable to say anything. Only her fingers held his, as if wanting to imprint this touch on her memory before the train separated them. A shrill whistle pierced the silence. The clouds of steam thickened, and the train slowly began to move. Johann leaned out of the window, raising his hand. Amelia waved, tears streaming down her face, her breath visible in the cold air. And then, with one last look, one last smile, he disappeared into the fog. The rattling of the wheels gradually transformed into dull explosions. The white steam of the train station became the gray smoke of the battlefield. A transition from love to war, from hope to survival. The ground trembled. Every step, every breath was accompanied by the dull rumble of distant explosions. Johann crawled through the damp rubble of a destroyed village that had once been full of life. Now it was only ash, dust, and the metallic echo of war. Between the shattered walls lay the smell of burnt wood, oil, and blood. Mortar shells shrieked overhead, detonating in the distance and filling the sky with gray plumes of smoke. He pressed himself flat against the ground. His rifle clutched his chest, his helmet askew on his head. "Come on, keep going," Sergeant Weber shouted. His voice cracking amidst the din. Johann crawled out from behind an overturned wagon, followed by his comrade Miller, a young man with freckles and a smile that had long since vanished from his face. A hiss, then a bang. The impact tore open the ground, sending earth flying into the air. When the dust settled, Johann heard only a muffled whimper. "Miller," he called out. The boy lay on the ground, blood seeping from his leg. Johann crawled to him, grabbed him under the arms, and dragged him into the cover of a shattered house. Sweat and dirt clung to his face. "Hold on," he gasped, tightening Miller's bandage. "We'll make it, do you hear? We'll make it." Miller nodded weakly, his vision blurring. At that moment, amidst the noise and dust, another world intruded into Johann's consciousness. A soft smile. Amelia, at the window, the sunlight on her hair. Her gentle laughter, the hum of the sewing machine, the smell of bread in the oven. And then, her belly, round and alive, carrying a part of him. "I'll come back. I promise." His own voice echoed through his head, drowned out by the thunder of the cannons. Another impact. The earth shook. Johann blinked, the memory shattering like glass. He saw only rubble, smoke, and blood again. He took a deep breath, reaching for Miller's hand. "Don't give up," he whispered, as the sun disappeared behind thick clouds of smoke. The night was silent, so silent that Johann could hear his own breath. A pale moon hung over the trench, only faintly penetrating the veil of smoke from the last explosions. The soft dripping of water from the sandbags mingled with the distant rumble of artillery. He sat on an empty ammunition box, his back against the cold earth. With stiff fingers, he reached into the breast pocket of his uniform and pulled out a crumpled letter, the paper soft from sweat, the corners rounded from constant handling. Slowly, he unfolded it. Amelia's handwriting, fine and round, trembled slightly across the lines. "Our child kicks every time I say your name. I pray that you read these lines and that they protect you, just as you protect us." Johann's eyes became glassy. His rough hands trembled as he traced the letters with his thumb. A single tear fell onto the paper, smudging the ink into a dark stain. He pulled out his notebook, a small pencil tucked inside. Slowly, he began to write. "My dearest Amelia, I hear the wind, and it almost sounds like your laughter. Tell our child that his father remains strong. I am coming." A dull rumble interrupted him. Then the wailing of sirens. "Attack!" someone shouted from the darkness. Johann jumped up, the letter slipping from his hand. Shells exploded. Earth and fire rained down on him. The paper tumbled through the air, spinning, falling into the wet mud of the trench, where the rain slowly pressed it into the earth. Only one word remained legible, half buried in the mud. Back. The rain had stopped, but the ground still steamed from the heat of the last explosion. Smoke hung heavy in the air as Johann struggled through the rubble of an old farmhouse. The roof had collapsed, walls blackened by fire. The smell of burnt hay mingled with metal and blood. Between the broken wooden beams, he heard a faint moan. "Help, please?" He followed the voice, ducking under a beam, and saw Lucas, barely 20, his leg trapped under a block of stone, his face pale, covered in dirt and fear.
"I've got you, boy," Johann gasped.
He threw his rifle aside, braced himself against the stone, his muscles tensing, sweat stinging his eyes. With a final heave, he wrenched the block aside and pulled Lucas out. At the same moment, fire lashed over their heads. Bullets struck the walls, dust rained down from the ceiling. Johann threw himself over Lucas, pulling him to cover behind a half-wall. "Why are you risking your life?" whispered Lucas, blood on his lip. Johann breathed heavily, looking at the clouds of smoke outside. "Because someone is waiting for me at home," he said softly. For a moment, the world seemed to stand still. Lucas looked at him, finding solace in his words. "My wife, Amelia," Johann continued, his voice softening. She's sewing little clothes for our child. Every time I think of her, I know I have to keep fighting." Lucas briefly closed his eyes, then murmured in a broken voice, "Then you have to survive for her." A brief moment of silence. Two men in the inferno, connected by a single word: hope. Outside, another grenade exploded. Johann pulled Lucas closer into the shelter, his heart pounding in his chest, not from fear, but from determination. A gray mist hung over the field as dawn broke. The fog crept across the wet meadows like a living blanket of fear and silence. Johann stood in line with his men, his rifle held firmly in his hand, his breath visible in the cold. Crows circled above them, silently, like shadows. The order came in a whisper, almost reverently. "Advance." No one spoke. Only the metallic clicking of the rifles could be heard. They began to move, slowly, cautiously, through the fog that transformed the field into a ghostly labyrinth. Every step could be their last. Then, without warning, the first crackle. Shots pierced the fog like lightning. Earth splattered. Men screamed. Explosions tore holes in the silence. Johann threw himself to the ground, crawling behind an earthen embankment. The stench of gunpowder burned in his throat. He looked up and saw a figure through the fog. A young soldier, barely 18, his rifle in trembling hands, his eyes wide with fear. Johann raised his own rifle, but his finger froze on the trigger. He didn't see the enemy. He saw Lucas. He saw his own child, who might one day be the same age. A moment of silence, a single breath, and then the blinding light. An explosion hurled him through the air. The world went numb. The sky spun. Smoke and earth merged into a gray storm. In the distance, the screams faded into a dull echo. All that remained was the rustling of a piece of paper carried by the wind, a fragment of his letter, half burned, half torn. It landed between trampled grass and mud, turning gently as if it wanted to live. The sun slowly rose above the horizon, its light falling on blood and mud, on hope and an end at the same time. And then silence. No scream, no command. Only the distant fluttering of the letter in the wind. The rain fell incessantly, drumming against the window panes of the small house like a melancholic melody. The village lay still. Only the distant rumble of thunder reminded them that somewhere far away the war raged. Amelia stood at the window, the light of the gray afternoon casting delicate shadows on her face. In her hands she held Johann's last letter, the paper slightly crumpled, softened by many touches. She had read every word countless times, and yet it hurt anew each time. Next to the window stood a small wooden table. On it, a framed photograph. Johan in uniform, with that crooked, loving smile that she could never forget. Amelia lit a candle in front of it. The flame flickered briefly before burning steadily. "Please, keep your promise," she whispered softly, almost like a prayer. Her hand rested on her belly, where the child was growing, the child that Johan had never felt. A gust of wind blew through the gap in the window frame, making the candle flame flicker and the letter tremble slightly, as if it were breathing, as if it wanted to say something. Amelia looked out into the rain, searching the horizon with her eyes, where heaven and earth became one. There, somewhere, Johan was fighting. Or perhaps only his memory was fighting now. The morning was gray, as if even the sky had decided to remain silent. Fog lay heavy over the destroyed field, between scorched earth and charred tree stumps. Traces of horror lay everywhere: torn uniforms, rusted helmets, abandoned rifles. A rescue unit moved cautiously through the area. Their footsteps echoed dully on the wet ground. One of the medics, a young man with tired eyes, bent down to pull something out of the mud. It was a dog tag, dull, scratched, but the name was still legible: Johan Weber. He stared at it, then looked up across the devastated field. No body, no sign of life, only silence, broken by the distant crackling of burning debris. Another soldier called out. Over here, between rubble and earth, lay a piece of paper, half burned, half soaked with rain. The medic carefully picked it up, as if it were something sacred. The camera slowly zooms in, the paper filling the frame. Between the smudges of soot and the tears, words are still visible, words born of love. "I believe in your promise." A gust of wind sweeps across the field, lifting the paper slightly, as if it wanted to fly away, as if it were carrying away the last vestige of hope. The soldiers look at each other silently. No one says a word. In the background, a melancholic musical theme gently begins. The camera pans upwards, showing the endless, empty battlefield, and slowly fades to black. Part 3 coming soon. Speech balloon like, comment Part 3, and subscribe for more heartwarming stories. The image slowly opens onto a quiet, golden field at sunset. The sun hangs low on the horizon, its light casting a warm glow over the grass, which sways gently in the wind. Between the blades of grass lie a dented helmet and a crumpled letter, stained with mud, both side by side, as if still waiting for someone. The camera slowly moves closer as a gentle, melancholic piano theme plays. Then the voiceover begins, calm, with a quiet sadness. He promised to return. But war changes promises. It erases faces, steals dreams, and rewrites destinies. A gust of wind blows across the field, lifting a corner of the letter, making it dance, as if the memory itself were breathing once more. Sometimes, all that remains is a word, a thought, a glimmer of hope. And somewhere, someone is still waiting for a promise that may never be fulfilled. Slowly, the music begins to fade. The camera pans upwards. The field grows smaller. The sky stretches wide, drenched in red and gold. Part 3 coming soon. Red heart, like, comment Part 3, and subscribe for more heartwarming stories. Fade out. Gentle wind. Then silence.